Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cora's Quilts YouTube channel, where it's my mission to help you make stunning quilts simply. If we haven't met before, my name is Shelley Cavanna. I'm a quilt pattern and fabric designer, and I write quilting books like the Barn Star Sampler. You can find my fabric, patterns, and books at your favorite local quilt shop or online at my website at corasquilts.com. You can also find us on most major social media platforms under the handle Cora's Quilts as well. Today's video is part of a 12-month quilt-along series where we'll be working through the 20 blocks in my Barn Star Sampler book. To sew along with us, you'll need your fabric and a copy of my Barn Star Sampler book. Each of these construction videos assume that you've already starched and pressed your fabric and that you've followed the instructions in the book to cut and label your fabric pieces. If you're looking for more information about this quilt-along program or my thoughts on pre-washing or starching your fabric, you can find the link to all of the previous videos in this series in the description box below. There are no specialty rulers or templates required for any of the blocks in the Barn Star Sampler. The majority of our blocks are made using my favorite stitch and flip techniques to eliminate triangles and bias edges whenever possible. With the blocks that do feature triangles, we'll be piecing our triangle units larger than needed and trimming them down to size, so you won't need to worry about foundation or paper piecing templates either. I'll share a full list of all of the tools used in this video in the description box below, but if you'd like my entire list of our must-have and nice-to-have tools, you can find that information in our mise en place video, also linked below. This month, we're working on the second of our 16-inch blocks with the Northern Star, or block number 5 in your book. And this month's video is super short because we're not learning any new piecing techniques. Let's take a quick peek at how to put this block together. While it might appear like this block is assembled on point with loads of triangles to piece, we've actually simplified things quite a bit. This block is actually another one of our 9-patch blocks, or blocks that are assembled in 3 rows of 3 units. We'll be adding some stitch and flip corners to a basic 4-patch shape for our corner units before we join square and square units with flying geese for our side units. Since we've already worked quite a bit with our stitch and flip units in previous months, and a lot of you are probably feeling very comfortable with the technique by now, this month's video is going to focus primarily on a new technique, which is making these stitch and flip units without pre-marking the stitching lines. If you're not ready for this yet, or you like the security and the accuracy of marking your lines, please absolutely feel free to continue marking them. And if you need a refresher on making any of these standard shapes, check out the links to our previous videos along with our Quilter's Toolbox Technique series. Everything is linked in the description box below. As always, if any of these techniques are new to you, be sure to practice with some scrap fabric before starting with the fabric for your actual quilt top. So by now you're probably already pretty familiar with our standard way of making our stitch and flip building blocks. We start off by pre-marking all of our stitching lines on the wrong sides of our fabric squares before sitting down to sew. When you're feeling good and comfortable with this technique, then you might be ready to ditch your pencil and try making these stitch and flip units without pre-marking your lines. Our lineless method for diagonal seams is actually really easy. You just need to extend a line from your needle onto your sewing machine bed. And there are a couple of ways that you can do this. First, check the bed of your sewing machine. You might already have a guideline marked for you. If you don't have one or it's tough to see, then you can use a piece of washi tape or painter's tape on the machine bed instead. Just place the tape so that the edge extends in a straight line from your needle onto your machine bed. In the video, I'm using a specialty washi tape from QUILT Sew that has 1/4 inch guides already marked on it. I'm just lining up the center red line with my needle. My hands down favorite tool for lineless diagonal seams is a machine bed guide, like the Sew Straight guide from Quilt in a Day. This is a vellum template that sits on your machine bed and not only provides the stitching line, but also a 1/4 inch seam guide for either side of that line and some offset lines at a 45-degree angle to help keep your fabric lined up correctly as you sew. My sewing machine bed has a slight curve to it, so I like to secure the guide with some painter's tape to keep it in place. Once you've established your stitching line on your machine bed, then all you have to do is place your 2 fabric pieces right sides together. You can use a pin to secure things in place if you want to keep it from wobbling around. Line up that first corner directly with your needle. Then line up the last corner, or the corner where your seam's going to end, right with the stitching line. As you sew, just keep that far corner lined up with the stitching line for a perfect diagonal line without having to mark the seam line. Used a marked square for that first corner just so you'd have a good visual of the seam. So here's what it looks like to sew just following the seam guide on your machine bed. Follow the instructions in your book to add stitch and flip corners to a 4-patch block to make the corner units. Then make stitch and flip flying geese and square in square blocks. Join them together as directed in the book to make the side units. To assemble your block, lay out your corner units and side units along with the center square as pictured in your book. Join the units together into rows, carefully matching up your points, and finish your Northern Star block by sewing the rows together. We'd love for you to stop by the Quilt-alongs page at corasquilts.com to see the 3 new and exciting quilt-alongs we have planned for later this fall and into 2024. And we'll see you next month with another exciting Barn Star sampler block. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Remember that you can share your quilt-along progress photos over on Instagram using #BarnstarSampler, and be sure to tag us at Cora's Quilts so that we can see your photos too. And don't forget to grab your free Barn Star Sampler quilt-along block checklist. We've left a link to download it in the description box below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Happy sewing, and we'll see you soon with another Barn Star Sampler tutorial.